Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to review the Duka 109. Let's start out with the wrist check. It's Sunday, so I'm wearing my go-to church watch, my Citizen World Time Blue Angels watch. And Grogo's wearing my Casio G-Shock. Grogo said Commander Antilles' land speeder broke down, so he asked Lando Calrissian for a ride to the base. Lando said no, because he was also giving Han Solo and Princess Leia a ride, and he didn't want to drive a wedge between them. Here's the watch. It really wasn't the Duka's turn for review. I had a few other watches before it, but my unboxing video for this Duka is on fire. So I thought I'd better review it now while it was still hot. I've had over 700 views in a week for my unboxing, which is amazing for my channel. I know for other channels that doesn't sound so well, but for me that was really good. I never heard of the brand Duka before. Duka means a small shop in Swahili, which is what I assume they're going for. A watch you would find in a small shop in some exotic location. Or maybe I got that wrong and it's an acronym. Don't upset killer alligators. When I unboxed the watch, I thought it was a somewhat original design, and it turns out I was completely wrong. This is an homage to an IWC Aquatimer. I don't know much about IWC watches, that's why I missed it. They have IWC at Borsheims, but they're way off on the side. I'm too busy looking at the Omegas, Breitlings, Tag Heuers, and Hamiltons. I did look for one when I went to Borsheims the other day, but they didn't have any IWC Aquatimers. I do have an issue with this watch. It doesn't happen to be the same watch as shown in the AliExpress photos. Looks like they photoshopped the Duka logo over another watch. If you look at the bezel in the photo here, it is clearly a crystal bezel. Plus there are also crown guards on the watch. This one has a flat ceramic bezel and no crown guards. So it's clearly a different watch. I don't know if they photoshopped the actual IWC watch, or they might have photoshopped the Chronos watch, because Chronos also makes a homage to the Aquatimer. The Chronos, if you look at it in the AliExpress ad, has the crystal bezel and the crown guards, so maybe they just photoshopped the Chronos. Of course, I've never seen the Chronos in person either, so I don't know if that one is incorrect also. But they do show in the ad for the Chronos that the bezel is fully lumed, and they don't show that in the Duka ad. So at least they got that going for it. The Chronos cost in the $300 range, but it does have a 4 Hz movement, fully lumed bezel, and 200 meters water resistance. This one is in the low $100 range, but it has a 3 Hz NH35 movement, and it has 100 meters of water resistance. A lot of these Chinese brands are related or owned by the same companies, so I don't know if Duka and Chronos are related or not, and I don't know if this was just a matter of them using other photos they already had available, or if it was a deliberate attempt to deceive. But if that was the case, if it was just because they were related, I wish they still would have took fresh photos for the Duka. There's really no excuse for that. This Duka is 44 millimeters at the bezel, but the bezel sticks out past the case, and it's 42 millimeters at the case. It's 12.9 millimeters thick, which is fairly thin for an NH35 watch. It's 51 millimeters lug to lug, but the lugs angled down pretty good, so it still will fit a small wrist pretty good. And it's got a 22 millimeter lug width. The ceramic bezel is one of the differences between the photo and the ad and the actual watch. It is a nice looking bezel though. It has a nice deep blue color, and the white lettering and ascension phase looks nice, but there is no lume whatsoever on this bezel. Not even a lume pip. It's a 120 click bezel, and the action's really good, and there's hardly any back play, just a little bit. And it's easy to get a grip on it because the bezel sticks out past the case. and it lines up nicely. The dial has the Duka branding and just the words automatic and the depth rating. And at first I thought it had applied indices, but if you look at it closely, the indices are part of the chapter ring. So I'm assuming the chapter ring is one whole piece with the indices part of it. But they look real nice. They're solid batons with the double baton at the top. Kind of looks like a tooth, kind of like a monster watch. The hands are straight and have a nice shape. Every time I show the hands, the minute hand is covering the hour. Let me show you the hour hand. See, the hour hand's a little bit thicker than the minute hand, but they're both straight and fully loomed. And second hand has a yellow arrow tip. The case is brushed stainless steel with angular lugs that slope down pretty good, letting this big watch fit a small wrist well. It has a sapphire dome crystal, and I tested the crystal. It is indeed sapphire. And I don't know if it has anti-reflective coating or not. I think it might, because you can see through it pretty good, which is often not the case of these affordable watches with sapphire crystals. It has a screw down Rolex style coin edge case back, and it's got the hammerhead sharks on it. The IWC also has hammerhead sharks, but the Chronos does not. I'm glad it's not a display case back. There's really no need to show off an NH35. I'd rather have a dive style watch with a nice case back. I wish it wasn't a coin edge though, because if you ever have to open it, you need the special tools. It has an unsigned push-pull crown, giving the watch 100 meters of water resistance. Usually you don't need a screw-down crown if you only have 100 meters, but in this case it would have been nice. Not because of the water resistance, but because of the bezel. Since the bezel sticks out past the case, it makes it hard to get a good grip on the bezel to hand wind it. Your thumb turns against the bezel. If it was a screw down crown, it would pop out, and then that would give you a little bit more room to hand wind it. It has solid inverted end links. Having inverted end links is nice when you have a big watch, because it helps it fit smaller wrists. But for some reason, if you look at where the bracelets attaches to the end links, they sit kind of low, and you can see a pretty good gap there. So that's kind of not well done. It has an H-link bracelet with screw down pins for adjustment. The screws are pretty small though, so you need a really small screwdriver. And oddly enough, one of the links had a little hole here, even though it's not an adjustment link. So I don't know if that was a mistake or not, or if that was intentional. I had to remove 3 links to fit on my 7.5 inch wrist. As you can see, these are really big links though, so if you put 3 back, you're going to have a pretty big bracelet. So you should be able to wear this if you have a big wrist. The clasp has a stamped outer but a milled scissor, and it's got this little support here. So, but it only has 3 holes for micro adjust. With such big links on this H-link, I really wish it would have had 4. So that's going to make getting the perfect fit a little bit more difficult. Thankfully, I was able to fit it properly on my wrist. Has a safety latch, which is signed Duka. Here's the watch on my 7.5 inch wrist. As you can see, it wears real nice. Very thin watch for an NH35. Plus the down-sloping lugs contour to your wrist very well. I think it fits very nice. Here's the watch on a blue Nato strap. As you can see, that looks really nice. Since the watch is so thin, you can wear it on a Nato without it sticking up too high. You don't have to do a single pass Nato, you can use both. Here it is on a Khaki Nato. I think that works pretty good too. I like it. I think any flat color will look nice with this watch. For grins and giggles, here it is on an orange strap. This isn't a Nato, it's a quick release canvas. It kind of works. Kind of an odd color. And for the piece de resistance, the strap that makes any watch look good, the vintage leather strap. Doesn't that look nice? I love a vintage leather strap. Here we are in the Lume room. We're not going to do a side-by-side comparison this time because since the bezel isn't lumed and there's no lume pip, if lume is your priority, you're not going to buy this watch. But I want to show you what the lume is anyway. So let's give it a good charge with my UV flashlight. Once again, because of my camera, I have to charge it with the UV flashlight first. Otherwise, you're not going to see much. Let's kill the lights. Okay, as you can see, it's got the green C3 style lume. And it looks like the lume's not too bad. All the indices are lumed and the hands are lumed. It's nothing spectacular. As you can see, it's starting to fade a little bit already. So we're not going to do a high-speed test or anything. Let's just go to say that the lume is decent. But I think that the lack of lume on the bezel is a big mistake. What do I like about this watch? Well, it's nice to have an homage that's not a Rolex or a Tudor or an Omega. It's nice to see a homage to an IWC because you don't see a lot of those. I like this nice H-link bracelet with the screw-in pins. And I like the fact that it's so thin for an NH35 automatic. Usually those would be at least 13.5, 14 millimeters thick. What are my gripes and groans? Well, no lume on the bezel. It should at least have a lume pip. This is, even though it's not an ISO certified diver, it is still a dive style watch, and it should have at least a lume pip. And when you have links this big, you need to have 4 holes of micro adjust, not 3. Of course, you can always get another clasp for this fairly cheap on AliExpress. Plus the crown is really small and it's hard to get a grip on it because of this overlapping bezel. And the biggest gripe of all is the watch is different than the picture on the AliExpress ads. They clearly photoshopped the Duka logo on another watch, and that's just wrong. Plus then there's the name Duka. It's just not a pleasant sounding name. I wish they would have figured out something else other than Duka. Do I recommend this watch? Yes, I do, despite the photo discrepancies. I like the watch, and even though I am quite upset about the false advertising, that is just the reality of the lower tiers of AliExpress watches. If you want to play in their sandbox, you're going to have to put up with a few little fibs. Kind of like Benyar and their stainless steel cases, which are really chrome plated. However, this once again shows you the importance of these watch reviews. If you see a watch you like in AliExpress, you need to go online and look for reviews or photos from purchasers and see what the actual watch looks like. And don't trust the AliExpress ads. So once again, now that you've seen it, if you like it, then I think you should buy it. if you don't like it, if you want the crystal bezel, if you want the fully Lume bezel, if you want the crown guards, then you're going to have to buy the chronos, but you're going to have to spend at least $300 for that one. Well, thank you for watching my review, and I'll be back with another review. Be sure and like and subscribe to my channel. Bye.